Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon. Pat Ziemer here with MagnaWave for the Tuesday edition of the MagnaWave office hours. Tracy's with us already, and we're glad to be here today. MagnaCon was 2 weeks ago. First time I've ever missed a MagnaCon. I wasn't feeling well, wasn't not able to attend. It's kind of really sad because God, it was at the Galt House on the river, live training outside. It was wonderful. People had a great time. Boat rides. It was wonderful. That's neither here nor there at this point. We're 2 weeks down the road. If you have any questions today, put them in the chat box and I'd be happy to answer them. And if you'd like to talk with me, send me a text to 502-414-3436. I'll give you a call back and we can discuss whatever it is you might like to talk about with regard to MagnaWave, devices, training, anything that you might like to talk about in that regard. Elaine is in Germany as we speak and seeing some customers and looking at some repair facilities and so on and so forth as we do more and more international business. And I'm today in her office, and I don't see how she does it, standing up the way she does at her desk or sitting up, whatever it is. I hope I can make it 45 minutes. Only going to be here about 45 minutes today because I have another meeting that I need to attend. And so that will take care of that. But glad to be here. If you have any questions, please put them in there. Beverly's with us. Northern Lights is with us. Hazel Reed's with us. Let's see. Kate's with us this morning. Christy's with us from Tunisia. There you go. Wow. Well, Elaine's in Germany. And so that's kind of exciting. Northeast Ohio. Heading up to Michigan to see some folks in a week or so. So we're excited about that. Pretty nice weather, I think. Okay, if you have a question, put it in the chat box. If you'd like to give me a call, please do that. One of the things that I will kind of go over this morning is some information that was discussed at MagnaWave, and that's regard to the Aura device, the Nova HD, which is FDA registered. Those of you who have a practice and want to have an FDA registered device with the terminology that you can use with regard to claims, we now have that available from the Aura line. And so we're excited about that. And there's been a lot of conversation about what people can do and what they can say and what they should say and so on and so forth. So very excited about that. If you have any questions, please put that in there. Sherry's with us. Leilani's with us today. And I hope you're feeling better, Leilani. We're feeling better. So that's all good. Terry Sue's with us also. Gary's with us. I said Joyce is with us, so we're glad that you folks are here. We're back today on Facebook, the Certified Practitioners page, and also on YouTube. So jumped out there to hit those areas again. So like I say, we're here to answer any questions that you feel that you'd want to ask. Let me have a look here. I did not get a chance to do this and see if there's any questions in the Facebook area that I maybe need to or that I can address at this point. Here we go. Here we go. Let me come here. It'll come up. Come on. Yep. See if we got any questions here today. Has anyone presented PEMF to a young equestrian summer camp group? If so, you have an outline or bullet points. If you need an outline of something to present, I'm sure you could reach out to the training department here at MagnaWave, Teresa or Carson, and they could give you some outlines as the best way to maybe present it, some information that you could share with regard to the history and all of that type of information about PEMF and the MagnaWave and what we've done and what you can do, so forth. Is anybody going to be at the National Junior Shorthorn Show in Kansas City, Missouri that will be given sessions? That's a good question, Missy. We need to kind of follow up and find out. Anyone experienced this? Show steer with fluid and hock, drained, but fluid returned within 12 hours. Swelling started as a calf being broke to lead. Planted his feet in the ground while being pulled by a halter. Swelling started the next day, but worsened over the last week or so. I would treat the area aggressively once or twice a day to try to keep the fluid moving and help dissipate the fluid into the system of the body to to help dissipate it. And that's certainly a problem when you have that type situation that they were pulling and the animal just refused to go and had some issue as a result. The best thing you do is put it on there and treat and proceed accordingly as best you can. How often is too often? Bruised ribs and sternum. You're supposed to take a break every few days from the machine. So in this case, where the pain is extremely high, should you not do less time and more frequently? The reason we talk about taking a break on treatments, and we recommend every 2 or 3 days, maybe laying off for a day and then coming back. We learned this in the very beginning, and that's when we treated my wife continuously every day for 20 minutes a day for 30 days. At the end of the first 30 days, we didn't stop. Her mobility had improved and the pain was gone, but we really were not ready to stop. But she got to feeling bad. Basically, what we did is we detoxed her to the point that she started taking on flu-like symptoms. So we laid off for a week in that point. Symptoms immediately went away, and we came back and treated her for another 30 days and stopped before she detoxified to the point that she became not feeling well. So it's just become kind of a norm to discuss it from the standpoint, if you treat someone every day, you don't want to over detox them because it can make them, give them a Herxheimer type of reaction and they don't feel so hot. So we just recommend treat 2 or 3 days, stop a day, treat 2 or 3 days, stop a day. Now, there's many different ways to approach that. If you've got we're talking about bruised ribs and sternum, how often is too often? I often recommend in that type of situation that you might treat twice a day for 5 days, stop for a day, and then do every other day or whatever. You can also go to the situation, treat twice today, once tomorrow, twice the next day, once the next day, twice the next day, once the next day, lay off a day, twice a day, once a day, and kind of play it like that. You'll see, and the other side of that coin is it's the length of time. You don't need to do it for an hour. You're doing it 15 or 20 minutes. Now, if you've got 2 locations, when you talk about bruised ribs and sternum, you're in one area. And so you're going to treat that area pretty consistently. You can also treat other areas of the body to help nourish the blood and oxygenate the blood that's moving all over. And this is using that would be with the Nova machine, the Nova HD, to do that type of situation that you might be dealing with. So there you go. And that applies to animals as well. Certainly a horse that's in the field or a dog that's outside, detoxification is not nearly the issue as it is if you may be treating yourself because you've bruised your ribs or your sternum. So you want to watch and maintain the proper way of treatment. Let's see here. Okay. So, there's a lot of things when you're talking about illnesses and what people have and what they're doing, everybody, and that's a big challenge that we're in today in this industry with this particular therapy is it's become so well known and used in the animal world that people want to use it. There are specific devices that are FDA cleared for use in various issues, and that's for non-union fractures, for depression, for autism, for urinary incontinence, for spinal healing, are the devices that are approved in those areas. When you get outside of that realm and you go to Europe and you go to Mexico and different countries, they're using the devices for many, many, many other indications because it's been accepted medicine in those areas. In the United States, we're not at that point yet. We're working to get things taken care of. So, for example, if we're talking about the Pulse, not the Pulse, the Nova HD, which is part of the Aura line, we can talk about rejuvenation. We can talk about musculoskeletal relief after sports and exercise to help the body rejuvenate, to help the body feel well. And then you can interpret that how you wish to how you might utilize that in conjunction with what folks are experiencing and what's going on. With regard to specific indications, when it comes to cancer or any other type of things, we cannot address that. We cannot address how it can be used and what can be done in the United States, because it's much different when you're dealing with the FDA and how they will approve and clarify and allow things to be used. And we've always maintained that we want to have our devices FDA registered, FDA cleared. And that's where we're heading with those devices. All of our devices are in the process of being safety inspected, which means they are safe to use. They're built to safe medical standards. Our factories, the facilities that we use are FDA approved manufacturing facilities, so they follow all the right rules and regulations with regard to building medical devices. And so we have chosen to go down that road. So we will find ourselves in a situation in many times that someone may say, well, how do I use this to treat that? And our answer is, we don't go there, because in the United States, you have to be specifically approved if you're going to talk about healing or clearing something or doing something. And so now how people exercise and walk around the neighborhood and do things to feel better, to help with what's going on, there's a lot of different things. There are heat devices like the LZR that are FDA cleared for heat and for those types of applications. And if your doctor feels like that heat would be good, if your doctor feels like that muscle rejuvenation would be good to what you're doing, then you can talk to your doctor about that and apply things accordingly. But from a company standpoint, we are very careful now because there are folks out there that are making claims, that are saying things that their devices are not cleared to be used for in the United States. I mean, that's one of the reasons that Elaine is in Germany and going to the Netherlands and Sweden and Italy, is to look at how things are done there, what devices are cleared, how our devices will fit, because we are in the process of having devices cleared as medical devices in Europe, in Canada, and these other places. So we want to make sure that we do that properly and use the devices properly in those types environments, in those types of situations. So there you go. I hope that was clear enough. Let me see here if we have any questions. I moved to Tunisia a week ago. Would love some materials in French and Arabic. Any thought of getting that going on any way I can help, or a way I can help? If you let the training folks know, if you have abilities to translate, one of the things that Elaine is doing is we're setting up some translation and so forth in Europe and in the various countries, so we can produce materials in the proper language and that it's presented in a manner that makes sense. I remember back when Google Translate first came out years ago, I tried to do some things, and what it thought I was saying and what I was saying were kind of two different things in some cases. So you had to be careful and watch how you did that. But we certainly want to do that. And we're doing the same thing here at home. In fact, there was a meeting this morning where we're talking about email revamping. And so we say things in the emails in the correct manner. So we're doing it right. We want to pass this along to those who are practitioners, or those who are not practitioners but are interested in learning more about this therapy and how it can be utilized. We want you to read what is correct and go from there. Has anyone treated a bullfighter that got stomped on? No internal bleeding, no broken bones, tons of bruising in the stomach and rib area. Well, I can tell you that people have used the Aura device, the Nova HD type of device, in those types of instances for rejuvenation, muscle soreness, and so forth, to help rejuvenate and those areas to feel better more rapidly. And of course, that has gone on and that has occurred. And so there's some good stuff that can be found out from there. Can you comment on any experiences with PEMF and high blood pressure? In an animal, we have as we treat animals, and this is where I can speak. And when we talk about even the Nova HD, when they are used, there is a tendency that the blood pressure will drop a little bit, not a significant drop, but it relaxes. We don't increase the blood pressure when the Nova HD is being used for rejuvenation and muscle relaxation and so forth. We're not really increasing a lot of pressure, if you will, at all. But can someone relax to where their blood pressure diminishes a bit? That can be. Same thing has been experienced in animals when we're using the MagnaWave devices, the veterinary devices in the animal world. It's relaxing. It can serve to decrease the blood pressure, if you will. And so if someone has, or if an animal has high blood pressure, a relaxation can be of benefit to those types of issues. Pat, Leonie here. Hey, Leonie. I'm excited about getting my LZR as I work on darker colored horses for polo. I hear that I will need to hold further away and also for less time because of the color of the horse as it absorbs the heat. Can you elaborate on proper usage and also session time for each in area? Okay, so the LZR, the one that we primarily use in the animal space, is the 12.5 watt unit, and it runs for a minute. And so when you're separating, when you have darker skinned animals and you're separating the hair, you want to do that as you're going into a particular area. You want to try to have some ridges of hair, if you will, so the light can penetrate directly to the skin. And yes, they're going to absorb more heat. What I would do if that light runs for a minute, I would do it for 30 seconds. You could also lift it up a half inch or so, or an inch off of the body, and you're still getting the light into the body. You're still getting some heat, and you really want, what you're really looking for with the red light therapy and the LZR devices is the light. The light produces heat. So if you can get the light, for example, one of the ways that people use the LZR is folks with PTSD and depression and those types, or just some anxiety, and they'll place the LZR on their forehead for a full minute, and it's a bright enough light that it will diffuse through the bone. So in theory, will it diffuse through the hair? Hair's a little different than bone, but still, it will diffuse. You still want to separate the hair as best you can, but I'm coming back to what they do. They'll put the LZR on their forehead for a minute, and then they'll put it on each ear with no hair covering it. And I have to remove these little things that I wear in my ears so the light gets in there. And but anyway, so a minute here, a minute here. Sometimes the doc has recommended, Dr. Randy and his group have recommended just 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. I do a minute. My wife does a minute, and a minute, minute, minute. And so when you're talking about, Leonie, when you're talking about darker skinned animals, just cut your time back. You could do 15 seconds. You're getting the heat and you're getting the light. Maybe do 15 seconds with the light in contact, and then come up an inch. And you're going to greatly change the heat penetration, and you might come up 2 inches. You'll know if the animal is uncomfortable, they'll want to move away. And actually maybe go 2 inches, so you really know, and experiment on yourself. Put it on a cheek for a minute, and put it on a cheek for 30 seconds, and you'll feel a definite difference in the heat penetration at the time. The other thing to do when you're dealing with that is to give the light a chance to cool. What sometimes someone will do is they'll put it right on the skin for a minute, and they'll move it up here for a minute, then they'll put it down here for a minute, just like, let's say you were doing each ear. Well, the apparatus itself begins to heat up. The lights themselves heat up. Well, if you give it a second, which we do with the devices, we recommend that if you're doing a 15, 20-minute treatment, at least let the machine recycle for a couple of minutes between the next treatment, so the machine can cool a bit so it doesn't overheat. So that would be the way to approach that. I'd cut the time back to 30 seconds or 15 seconds, or I'd go 30 seconds, come off, let it go off, because the light will run for a full minute. Wait 30 seconds, let it cool, come back and do another 30 seconds. It's the accumulated heat that you maybe don't want on darker skinned animals. I hope that helps, Leilani. And but to that end, since I have you on the line, we have had a lot of folks that came to MagnaCon and were able to get who wanted to try the Golden Huawei products, and they got the link and they went on for the 20% discount, Tony will put that back up so people can, if they're interested in learning more about the Golden Huawei products and want to have a 20% discount on their first purchase, they can do that. Just follow that link, and you can see all the products that are available and get a discount on your first purchase. If you like it, you want to become a partner, and when I say partner, you want to buy it at wholesale and carry it and resell it to your customers. There's another link that will have them put into the box that you can pursue that as well. So hope that helps with the skin issue on the LZR Leilani, and that some folks can further. I don't know where I'd be in my life and my wife's life without CBD. And we use Leilani's products, and they're very good and they work well. And I need to get some more. I'm about out of some things. So Leilani, get in touch with me. But at any rate, there you go. Let's see here. Can you email? Oh yeah, talk about education. Where do we find? Wait a minute. Okay. Let's see. Where do we find our updated renewed certificates? Sorry if I missed this. Katie, it would be in the portal. If you're having an issue, simply call the office, talk to Teresa or Carter and Carson, excuse me, talk to Carson, and they can direct you and show you how to get there. You can send an email to support@MagnaWave PMF and tell them you're having trouble finding your certificate, and they'll help you take care of it as well to find that for you so you can get it. Okay, Kim says, I'm a new practitioner. When providing a session, do you, as the practitioner, receive some of the effects of the PMF? What if you have multiple clients in the same day? Would a practitioner receive too much PMF? Okay, this goes back to something that I've been understanding and using for years. If you put that coil on your chest and you put the machine on high, which you probably couldn't do, but if you did that, you would have to run that machine for 17 hours. And I'm going to give you both numbers. I'm going to kind of turn this around. 17 hours. What people can wrap their head around is to receive 1 minute worth of exposure to the body you're treating. When I say exposure, radiation type of exposure. Now, so it's not a minute, 17 hours of continual treatment on high to receive 1 second of the exposure that you receive from your cell phone up to your ear, or from the power lines going down the road, or your microwave oven in your kitchen, or any of those types of things. So your personal exposure is very limited. Now, and that's the exposure that it takes for somebody to have it. But I want to tell you also, to be very upfront, that there are some people, because of toxicity levels, their electromagnetic system in their body, who are more sensitive to these signals than others. And so I've had some folks that have done it all day long, and they feel like, boy, this has worn me out. Well, when I used to be on the road doing horses all day long, once I hit my 10th, 12th horse, I was done. And if I had to do 16 horses in a day, I was double done. And I could talk about whether it was a machine or whatever, but it wasn't. But it was me at my age at that particular time. So, but some people are a little more sensitive to it. We always talk about one person out of 100 who can't stand it. It just drives them crazy. That's toxicity, their own personal electromagnetic sensitivity, whatever it is. You can run into that. I've only had 1 or 2 practitioners over the year that said, boy, at the end after I've done X amount of horses, I don't feel good. And they have that sensitivity. Well, they got to learn how to do their horses. Maybe take a longer gap between the horses. They were also massage therapists. So what she would do is this young lady would treat a couple of horses, then she'd do her massage and that stuff, come back and treat a couple of more horses. She also had a person that came in and assisted her. So she would do her body work and have someone else treating the horses because she was sensitive to the therapy. So, but from your question, as a generality, it's not an issue, and it's not ever been much of an issue. Although everybody's different, just as every animal is different. So, there's been 1 out of X amount of horses or dogs that don't like it, don't want it. One of my neighbors in Florida had a lab, and for months that he turned that machine on, treating his low back, and the dog would go to the other end of the coach, and he just no, and all of a sudden, one day the dog kind of says, I need to figure this out. Now the dog gets treated all the time. It's getting older, feels better. It helps. So those types of situations. Hope that helps, Kim. Do we work for updated certificates? Thank you, Katie. Let's see. Hello from Sanford, Florida, the airport in Sanford. Been there. Let's see. Facebook. No, it's a Canadian legality. So I missed that question. I don't know where the answer came from. Okay. If I do a really full day, I feel pretty lousy and tired the next day. Alicia talks about. You should make sure the hydrate, and that's, thank you, Kate. Kim, you should always hydrate very well. And I learned I didn't want to wait for Miller time. I needed to hydrate all day long with water. But hydration is very important as we go along and take care of ourselves as we're taking care of others with what's happening. Okay, let's see. Kim Chestnut Perry. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Any other questions? Put them in the chat box and we'll take care of them. Let's see if we've had any calls. No calls. Nobody wants to talk to me. That's all right. Or they just don't have a question that they want to talk about today. And if we have some more questions, we will certainly proceed. As I mentioned, I'm going to have to head off a little early today. I have another meeting that I must attend at 1 o'clock. So we'll go for another 10 or 15 minutes if you've got some questions. If not, I'll let you get back to your day and I'll get on about what I'm doing. I don't know how much longer I can sit in this little chair that Elaine handles all the time. This is like treating horses, I think. Tame, can LZR, where to go, help with poison ivy? Well, you want to get rid of the inflammation in the poison ivy. The LZR will help ease inflammation. This would probably be for poison ivy, poison oak, any type of itching type situation, shingles. The MagnaWave will do the same thing, or the Aura will do the same thing. If you get an itching type situation, will help relieve the inflammation in those areas for some relief from the itching. But yes, the LZR would be beneficial from poison ivy. I wouldn't put it on it. I'd hold it above it and a quarter of an inch or so above it. Or what some people do, you could put a piece of, well, it gets too hot, shrink it up. I would approach it from that type situation. Travel fee, how do people, there's a lot of different things. I would go to the certified group, ask about travel fees, and you'll get all kinds of questions and answers about how people do travel fees and times. Just received my Soul Pro. How do I know at what hertz I'm working with as it relates to the numbers on the machine? Okay, the hertz, if someone wants you to dial in at a specific hertz, that's not the way the devices operate. The devices work at a frequency and they work on an intensity level. And the frequency establishes the intensity. In other words, the less frequent of the click, 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 is a lower frequency, but a higher intensity. A very fast clicking is a higher frequency because you're getting 50 clicks or whatever in a second, in a second, and that is a higher. So if you can count it, if you can count clicks in a second or two, that would be a hertz. The hertz runs from 2 to 50 in the United States is the hertz frequency that we work on. But we're dealing with intensity and frequency. A specific hertz, we just operates on the hertz spectrum of 2 to so a very clicking, a very fast or a higher hertz, if you will, or a higher frequency. You could have that discussion with regard to hertz. But if you're trying to assimilate hertz with your signal, I'm just telling you the devices are based on the number of clicks being the intensity and the intensity that you're generating because of the number of clicks. So I talk in frequency. If someone wants a frequency of 7, then you put it to where you get 7 clicks a second. if you can count that. So you kind of establish where you are there. But the lower settings, the 1, the 2s, are based more on the earth frequencies than the well, I take that back. The higher it goes, I was confused. The higher it goes, if you can, you want 7 clicks or frequency of 7, there you go. You're kind of that thing, but that's a higher intensity at that point. The hertz is the spectrum that the signals are delivered on. The frequency intensity is what we talk about and deal with. Hope that helps. Let's see. On average, how many hours I expect to use my Pulse Pro before it will need to be serviced? Well, that varies depending in where this changes. There are people that have their devices and they have them in the field for a year or 2 without needing to be serviced. Some people who turn their devices higher intensities more often. Let's say if you're dealing with ankles, knees, and feet, and you're running it at the highest intensity it will run, that manual spark chamber will wear a little more rapidly. Now, the newer devices are made to where they recalibrate every time you turn them on. The old machines, like I started with 20 years ago, as these electrodes would wear, they couldn't come back together to start on the lower setting. So they would be here. So you turn it on and you'd have a higher setting. Well, now after each session, it recalibrates back to zip. And so when you start off, you're moving them apart. That has greatly changed the wear and how often you have to deal with the wear and tear on the electrodes by having them recalibrate. I'm not certain, but I think we're one of the few companies with the manual actual spark chamber that recalibrates after each session to, number one, give you a totally controllable type of situation. But so again, it just depends on how your intensity levels are. But I would say anywhere from, and again, it varies on how you're using it. The environment that you're operating in is moist, so, just all of those things have to do with it. But several hundred hours would be where you'd want to be. I've got people that have had their machines in the field for 10, 12 years, still going, but they never get to high intensities. And they like to be in those lower mid-range kind of areas. They'll go to the feet when they're doing a foot, when they're doing a knee. They'll pump it up and do a higher intensity, and then they'll come back down to where they're comfortable. Hope that helps. Let's see. It's great for point. Okay, if not only dry rash. Okay, talking about the LZR. Better explanation of the answer. Okay. Hi, everyone from Madison, Wisconsin. Hello, Teresa from Madison, Wisconsin. Okay. Any more questions? Put them in the chat box, and I'd be happy to answer them. Let me check my phone one more time. Everything's quiet over there. So please, if you have a question, put it in there. Katie is on there with us today. And let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Well, looks pretty quiet as we go through. So let's hang for another minute or so. And if you have a question, please throw it in there. If you just want to make a comment about MagnaCon or something going on, please throw it up there. And if it needs to be discussed, we'll discuss it. You don't necessarily have to ask a question. So let's see, Kate, I've had my machine for about a year, but strangely, the lowest setting has always been very intense for my dogs and horse. Rarely can I touch them with the coils for more than a few minutes. I don't think it has been about 2 or 4 on the human family. If you've had it for a year, Lisa, you might want to have it checked and just to make sure that it's the way you want it and the way it should operate. Again, every animal's different. I would not think that every animal would be sensitive to it, but I would recommend that. And we have loaner programs. We got a lot of stuff going on. We don't want you to be without machines if we can help that. So contact support. Talk to Lee or Briley, and we'll get you taken care of. That's what we want to do. A lot of times people, when it comes to service, you want the service that you want, but sometimes you have to take the service that's available, and we always want to reach out and do the best we can to make sure that everybody's happy, and we work very hard to do that. All righty. Give another minute here for any other questions to see if there are any, and if not, then I'll head to my next meeting. It's actually about a 20-minute drive, so it's probably about time that I head out. Listen, it's been great being here with you today. And wait a minute. Let's see if I missed you. Oh, Cheryl says, I missed you at MagnaCon. I do. I feel healthy today. Everything is good. It was tough. I didn't like it, and my wife didn't like it, and we hated not being able to be there. But that's the way it goes. Better be safe than sorry. I have a sole pro and was considering purchasing. I have a sole pro and was considering purchasing a digital machine. However, I noticed that there don't seem to be all the prior digital machines available for sale anymore. Are they coming back for purchase? We are making some changes with some of those machines and updating them. The Maya, as an example, is in a revamp and rebuild for us, and it'll be in the next 4 or 5 months. The Maya will be back with us. We've made several upgrades to the controls and how the Maya delivers. The digital machines, in the Aura line, there are some digital machines available. We do now have the Semi 10 and the Spiro. Both are excellent digital machines in the veterinary side, and the Nova HD on the human side as one of the machines. So in fact, I was reading last night someone who's talking about the Semi 10, how they like the power differences between that and even some of the larger machines. But some of the larger digital machines are being totally re-engineered by us, and so they're improved and good, and they'll be back soon. Okay, great question. Thank you for asking. All right, thank you for being with me. I certainly have appreciated it. I will be back next Tuesday to have some more information or more discussion about MagnaWave, and we're always excited to visit with you. So thank you for being here. We love you guys. Wave on to better health. Go all the way with MagnaWave. Have a great day. Thank you very much.